In movies, espionage is a high-speed chase. It's loud and glamorous. But the reality of intelligence work is the exact opposite. A real operative's primary objective is to remain entirely invisible. The moment they are noticed, they are dead. This is Karachi, Pakistan, specifically the district of Lyari. For a foreign operative, this is a sprawling, inescapable labyrinth. It functions as a highly fortified, state-sanctioned crime ecosystem that operates with complete impunity. The Lyari ecosystem operates on a closed loop between three power centers. Politicians rely on gangs to intimidate the public for votes. In exchange, politicians and the ISI grant gangs absolute legal protection to run their rackets. In a traditional underworld like 1990s Mumbai, criminals still had to hide from the police. In Lyari, the police, the politicians, and the criminals share the same payroll. The system protects itself, leaving a foreign operative entirely exposed.
The man waving to the crowd is Uzair Baloch, a local gangster who took control of Lyari around 2009. He carried a deep, decades-long grudge over the murder of his father, and his political connections gave him the resources to finally act on it. Baloch didn't rely on a quiet street-level hit. He deployed active-duty Karachi police officers, mixing them with his own men wearing police uniforms. Together, they raided a safe house, kidnapped his rival Arshad Papu, and handed him to Baloch. Baloch's men tortured and dismembered Papu. They hung his body parts on hooks in the street like butcher's meat. Because they had trouble cutting off his head cleanly, they threw it on the ground and kicked it around like a football. This level of grotesque violence is the daily baseline in Lyari. An Indian operative placed inside this environment has to survive silently, knowing that a single mistake ends in the meat grinder. To survive here, deep cover operatives have to completely erase who they are. They unlearn their language, their habits, and their history, living every single day under a fabricated identity with zero backup. Decades earlier, Ajit Doval, who would later become India's national security advisor, spent 7 years undercover. He lived as a beggar near the Kahuta nuclear facility, relying entirely on his own mental discipline to gather intelligence on their nuclear program without ever breaking cover. While operatives rely on stealth, their opponents operate in the open, men like militant leader Ilyas Kashmiri, seen here, and ISI Major Iqbal act as the primary architects of regional terror, fully backed by the state. Major Iqbal was the mastermind who directed the 10 militants during the 2008 Mumbai attacks. He stayed in constant communication with the attackers as they assaulted targets like the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel, dealing devastating blows to Indian soil. Indian spies operating in Pakistan are navigating a rigged system. The criminals they track are actively protected and deployed by the host nation's military intelligence. In the mid-2010s, a former Indian naval officer named Kulbhushan Jadhav successfully infiltrated Uzair Baloch's criminal network. Operating a small water transport business out of Iran, Jadhav traded intelligence to gain access to Baloch's inner circle. Eventually, the political winds shifted in Pakistan. The government stopped protecting Baloch, forcing him to flee to Iran. Soon after, Iranian intelligence began suspecting Baloch of being a double agent, leaving him entirely exposed to capture. This tactical map illustrates the trap Baloch devised. To buy his own survival, Baloch offered the ISI a high-value target. He lured Jadhav from Iran into Baluchistan under the pretense of an arms deal, leading him directly into an ISI ambush. Jadhav was immediately stripped of his identity and his rights. The ISI handed him over to a closed Pakistani military court, where he was sentenced to death on charges of terrorism and espionage. An elite operative was traded for a gangster's life. Human beings in this ecosystem are geopolitical currency, bartered between criminals and state intelligence to secure their own power. When the ISI captures a foreign operative, they rarely execute them immediately. Instead, they initiate a protocol of prolonged, systematic physical and psychological torture. The objective is to break the prisoner entirely. They reduce a highly trained operative to a compliant, hollow shell, capable only of repeating whatever propaganda the state feeds them. To save Jadhav, India escalated the crisis internationally. They took the case here to the International Court of Justice and successfully secured a stay on his execution. A stay of execution stops the hanging,
But it does not stop the torture. Once captured, the true battlefield for a spy shrinks to the inside of their own head, fighting a daily war to protect their sanity and their truth. In 2017, Pakistan finally allowed Jadhav's mother and wife to visit him. They were separated by a thick glass partition, forbidden from touching, heavily monitored by guards and cameras. Jadhav, visibly broken and heavily coerced, began reciting the script the ISI had drilled into him. He confessed to terrorism and apologized to his mother for betraying his country. His mother refused to accept it. She physically stepped in front, cut him off mid-sentence, and fiercely scolded him. She told him to stop reciting the lies they had forced into his head. She reminded him of who he truly was. She told him that his parents and the entire nation were proud of him. In that heavily guarded room, her words served as a psychological lifeline, shattering the illusion of absolute control the ISI had spent months building. The real operatives defending national security sacrifice their identities, operate in total isolation, and endure hell in complete silence. If you value the unseen sacrifices made every day, please like, subscribe, and share this video.